There's a story coming out of South Carolina today that's so ridiculous that it feels like a story from The Onion. Raw Story explains here, they say, quote, nearly 40,000 people have signed onto a petition to remove the African-American monument from the South Carolina Statehouse grounds after a Confederate flag was taken down. So the monument that they want to take down is a slavery commemoration piece. What they're doing here is a textbook example of false equivalence. They're saying, oh, the Confederate flag is offensive to black people, so okay, I guess we take that down. But hey, that slavery memorial is offensive to white people, so I guess we need to take that down too, right? No. Notice, again, they always try to make it equal. They're, there was some bad stuff racially amongst whites and some bad stuff amongst blacks. No. Look at the history. The history is clear. There was not an alternate history where white people were the ones who were slaves, white people were the ones who were victims of Jim Crow in America, white people were the ones who were victims of segregation, white people were systemically kept away from economic power and advancement in America. That doesn't exist. The reality is the opposite. White people had the power, they kept black people down. That is a fact. So when you say, oh, it's equal, that offends them, this offends us, take both down. No. One is okay because it represents something in history that is true and factual and was a fight against oppression. The other just represents the oppression. Take down the thing that represents the oppression, keep up the thing that represents the fight against the oppression. Okay. Let me tell you what the person who came up with the petition, I want to give you his quote. His name is Keith Harmon. He said, the African-American monument depicts slave ships, mistreatment, and words such as segregation and Jim Crow. This being the case, it is undeniable that this monument can and does serve to invoke in the white community feelings of shame, humiliation, and offense, serving as a constant reminder of the dark history of slavery. Now here's the best part. He said he hoped both Confederate and slave monuments would remain on the Statehouse grounds, but he said the African-American monument should go if the Confederate flag goes. Again, perfect example of false equivalence. And notice how he tries to flip the meaning of the slave commemoration monument. No, you know what I think as a normal white person? You know what I think when I look at that? Oh, man. That's it. First of all, it's historic. It's factual, and it is educational. So you look at that and you go, okay, I acknowledge the history, I'm sensitive to the history, and I know that it's good that we know about it so it doesn't happen again. Okay, same thing with like World War II memorials. When you discuss the Holocaust, should German people say, oh, don't you dare talk about that? I get angry when you talk about that. Why would you get angry? Why would you feel that way? Unless the ones who are angry about that are kind of like, I actually do feel somewhat responsible, and maybe it's a more muddled history than as clear as we're the bad guys, they were the good guys. See, that's the thing. I feel like when people get defensive about stuff like that, I always think, what's your real motive here? Are you really getting all standoffish because in your mind you think like, it was more complicated than that. We weren't just the bad guys, they weren't just the good guys. Is that what you think? I think that that's what you think. Again, normal people like myself, I look at that and I go, oh no, yeah, black people were the oppressed, white people were the oppressors. Noted, fact, now let's move forward having learned that and grow from there. They can't do that. They don't want to grow. Okay, they want to do a false equivalence. Black people are offended by the Confederate flag. We're offended by the slave monument. Take them both down. No, one represents the oppressor, one represents the oppressed. Get rid of the one that represents the oppressor. Do not get rid of the one that represents the oppressed because it's a reminder and it's factual and it's reality. And we can learn from it and move forward, which clearly you don't want to do.